And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever we are receiving this information. My name is Rafael Vasquez Guzman, and I am the CEO of the nonprofit organization Líderes del Futuro Avanzando, which is located in Northern California. And today we want to take a moment and talk about our newest program, Sanacion y Cultura, which is an educational program for DACA recipients that allows individuals using advanced parole to travel to Mexico City. We are grateful that many individuals from Tennessee and Georgia and Chicago and New Mexico and Texas are contacting us because they want to participate in our program. We are more than happy to create this video and audio in order to educate other nonprofit organizations on how our program has been functioning, and as a result of that, how other nonprofit organizations can use a similar program. And we are happy to consult with other nonprofit organizations in other states so that they can start running similar programs. And so it is important that we understand that our program now has expanded, and we will talk more about how now we take advanced parole individuals due to DACA as an educational program, but we also take their families, and we'll explain why. We want to start by explaining what advanced parole is. Advanced parole is a permit that the US government provides for individuals with DACA and other programs, whether it is the U visa, perhaps other programs that they work with, but we want to focus from the point of view of DACA because that's the population that we work with and have been working with since 2012. And so there are three types of advanced parole. One is humanitarian, and that is when perhaps a parent of somebody with DACA or a grandparent or maybe an aunt is sick, and the intent is for the DACA recipient to be able to go and visit and provide support. So for example, if grandma is going to have a medical procedure and nobody there is available to take care of grandma for the next 2-3 weeks, somebody with DACA can ask for advanced parole in order to be able to take grandma to visits with the doctor, perhaps a follow-up, and provide medication. Sometimes DACA recipients may go in these situations to find support because maybe grandma is the last individual left in town. And so a DACA recipient could go over there and find someone to take care of grandma, make sure that she takes her medication, make sure she goes to the doctor, make sure she has food and everything else. And so that is humanitarian. And there are two versions of that. If there's no immediate situation taking place, then individuals fill out all the paperwork and then mail it to immigration. And it takes typically 3 to 4 months to get the approval. And then there is emergency humanitarian advance parole, where you just get a call and it says grandma or grandpa, or maybe your aunt, the aunt that took care of you after your parents migrated to the United States, that aunt is sick and again requires assistance. And so maybe there's going to be that medical procedure that will require somebody to take care of them. In that situation, instead of mailing the paperwork, the individual would call immigration for an info pass, which is an emergency visit. And as a result of that, the paperwork would be taken to the closest US office authorized to provide advance parole. We are producing this in Northern California, and our closest location is San Francisco. So individuals would call the 1-800 number, and if they're given an emergency appointment, they would go to San Francisco. And after a few hours of waiting, if approved, that individual would be allowed to leave the country and come back legally to the United States. It is important to understand that individuals who have had some type of interaction with the police, an arrest, for example, or an accusation of domestic violence, drug possession, DUIs, things like that, you should definitely check in with an attorney before filing your paperwork. It is also important to know that you do not need an immigration attorney to file this paperwork. If you know what you're doing, you can do it yourself. Then there is work-related advance parole. Work-related advance parole is where your employer will write a letter explaining how you live in the United States temporarily with advance parole will benefit the company or corporation. For example, one individual that we assisted needed to go and verify, partially because he had the language skills, he needed to go and verify that a company that they're conducting business with was going to be able to continue to provide the services and, in fact, increase the services to this company in the United States. And so we were able to do the paperwork. They went to that country and they came back legally. And again, that also can be done as a regular process, which takes 3 to 4 months, or as an emergency process, if again, the letter from the employer demonstrates that you need to leave the country as soon as possible. And I want to clarify, emergency advance parole is not where they give you the approval and then you say, okay, now I'm going to take a week and go do this. Emergency, as it's the name says, it has to mean that you're leaving today or tomorrow. And the third way of obtaining advance parole for DACA recipients is the educationally related advance parole. And that is the one that Líderes del Futuro provides, and that is called Sanacion y Cultura, healing and culture. For the regular humanitarian and work-related advance parole, the documentation that you're going to need is an application for travel document, which is Form I-131 and G-1145. G-1145 is just so that they can text you or email you to tell you that they received the application. You're going to need a copy of your work permit that you obtain from DACA, and you're going to need your A21D letter of approval, which is actually DACA. Many individuals misunderstand and they think that the work permit is what DACA is. No, DACA is the A21D letter, which you should maintain in a safe space, because that is what guarantees that you can legally live in the United States for 2 years. And the work permit is just a work permit. You also would need a letter that you would write explaining why you need to travel. Again, is it for humanitarian reasons or is it because of work-related reasons? And you would need a copy of your passport from your home country that is still valid. Also, your DACA has to be valid typically for at least 30 days after you come back from your trip. So it's really important. You should always renew your DACA between 4 and 6 months before it expires. And again, or immigration attorneys have always told us to share with the community that every person who's here with DACA, their passport from their home country needs to always be valid. You also would need 2 pictures, US passport size, a check or money order. Again, we are creating this video and audio on February 10th of 2024, but you're welcome to check out our YouTube channel, Líderes del Futuro, where I provide information about how starting April 1st, 2024, prices for advanced parole and DACA renewal will go up. But as of now, if you mailed your paperwork before April 1st, the cost is still $575. And if it is humanitarian, you would need a letter from the doctor, your grandma's or your parents' doctor, that says what the illness is, what the medical condition is, what the medical procedure perhaps, and why they need to see you over there. If it is, again, related to work, a letter from your employer on letterhead. Same thing from the doctor. It has to be on letterhead. It has to have their identification, all of that stuff. And then advanced parole for educational purposes, it's important to recognize, in reality, all 3 of them is not a vacation. You're not supposed to go to the beach and just take a bunch of pictures and all of the stuff. You are there for a purpose. And from now on, we will focus on the educational piece of advanced parole. What are the benefits of participating? Sanacion, being undocumented is very challenging for our mental health. And as a result of that, we are going to learn skills on how to heal, how to maintain our mental health when on a regular basis, there's so much negativity about immigration and immigrants and refugees arriving to the United States. And then Cultura, we need to reconnect or connect for the first time with our roots. The youngest DACA recipient we've taken with this program was 2 weeks old when she arrived to the United States. Our next trip is going to be in March, and our youngest participant was 8 months when she arrived to the United States. Our nonprofit organization travels with this program typically 3 times a year. So the next one is going to be in July, and then we're planning the next one. And then the other benefit for a few individuals is not our main benefit. It just happens to be a benefit for some individuals, and that is that they might be able to qualify for some type of status, whether it is through marriage, maybe they are already married to a US citizen, and now they can adjust status in the United States without having to go out of the country again. The itinerary of our unique program is we go for a whole week and we visit places that are, again, from an anthropology, from a historical point of view, and for a mental health point of view. So we go to places like Chapultepec, we learn about the cultures, and then we also go to the National Institute of Psychiatry. We also go to Xochimilco. We go to the National Institute of Anthropology. We go to the National Institute of Anthropology and the Museum of Anthropology and History. We visit places where indigenous peoples still are working towards educating themselves and others about their cultures in Ecatepec, Mexico, and Teotihuacan. We also visit Cuernavaca, where again, we work on our mental and physical health with healers who have ancestral knowledge. And so these are the equivalent of massage therapists. These are this equivalent of therapists. These are the equivalent of herbalists and much, much more. And so our focus is healing. That's why we visit the National Institute of Psychiatry, and we visit with psychiatrists who are familiar with the work that needs to be done with the Latinx community. And anthropology is about learning about our ancestry. And in Cuernavaca, again, is about multiple ways of healing. And then we visit with different places. Sometimes is the IME, also known as the Instituto del Mexicano en el Exterior. So these are services for people who maybe end up going back to Mexico, and what services the Mexican government may be able to offer them. And again, in future visits, we are going to expand our services to Oaxaca and Guadalajara, and eventually we're going to expand to other countries in Latin America. For this type of application, the documentation is similar. The only difference is that these individuals would have to gain acceptance into this program. And so we collaborate with the Escuela Nacional de Antropología e Historia, or the National School of Anthropology and History in Mexico City, and the National Institute of Psychiatry. And they determine who gets accepted to this program and who doesn't. And they send us the letters of acceptance. That all is done through our organization. And this time now, we are also taking family members of the DACA recipients. Why? One, because we want to make sure that US citizens, whether it is a partner, a husband, a wife, or a sibling, brother, sister, perhaps, or a child of one of our DACA recipients, we want them to learn from all of the trainings about the support that they can give or DACA recipients. Because again, the negativity out there, it's something that needs to be understood. We have heard this many times before where somebody with DACA will say, my siblings who were born in the US simply don't understand what it's like to live in the United States as an undocumented immigrant, even with DACA. And so we are creating or expanding our program. We haven't done this before, but starting with our summer program, we will. Here is where I stop and let you know that our summer visit is already full. We're going to take 55 individuals, but there will be an opportunity for DACA recipients who are interested to sign up to get updates about future meetings. And again, this time we are taking individuals from Tennessee and Georgia and Chicago and New Mexico, as well as people from California. In regards to the cost, there are multiple costs, and we're not going to put a specific cost here because those change, and depending when you're getting the information, it may be completely different. So there is an advanced parole fee, which at this moment is again $575, but starting April 1st, 2024, that fee is going to go up. And then there's a cost for housing. We're there for 6 days. There's cost for transportation. We have an agreement with a hotel for housing and a bus company for transportation. We have an agreement with professional guides and healers. And again, food is something that every individual has to pay for, and it depends from location to location. And then some of the places like the Anthropology Museum, you have to pay in cash. And so whether or not that costs 25 cents in US monies, it is a cost that also is there. And then there are individuals that on the way back, they want to bring items to remember or to gift to family. So there are those costs. And so again, depending on when we go, some of the fees go up for housing and transportation, whether gas is more expensive or whether in Mexico City, the taxes for the hotels have gone up. And then of course, the plane ticket. And so with our program, participants have two choices. They can have us purchase the tickets as a group, and then we get reimbursed at this, or individuals have the freedom to pay for their own ticket as long as we are leaving at the same time and we are coming back at the same time and in the same flight. We also require all of our participants to participate ahead of time in a 5-session, 2 hours every time, Zoom training about Latin America before the arrival of the Europeans. There are readings that are assigned, and this is a mandatory piece in order for this program to qualify as an educational program. If individuals are interested and want to participate in a future trip to Mexico, you can scan the QR code, or you can check the description of the video or the audio, and the link to that Google form will be available there. And so in about a month or so, we will send out information about our next orientation. And again, just by showing up to the orientation doesn't mean that you have to participate. That just gives you information about the latest cost and everything else. And then if you determine that you're ready to participate because you're a DACA recipient, then you can tell us, and then we'll provide you further information. Again, if you are in another state other than California, or even in Southern California, that doesn't mean that you have to come all the way to Northern California to take off with us, but we work with you to do all the paperwork, and then we would just travel from different locations and we would all arrive in Mexico City. We also want to let you know that if you live in Northern California and you want to participate, every couple of months, we have a wonderful immigration attorney, Ashley Byers, who comes over and provides what we call DACA and change of status. These are opportunities where, as a group, we have a dialogue, a Q&A with our attorney in order to be able to get an idea. Do I qualify for the U visa, VAWA, special immigrant juvenile status, H-1B visa, or again, some other form of immigration relief? The cost typically is $25 per person because we have to rent a space to be able to create these events. And the next event is going to be March 30th, 2024, from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Another program related to DACA that we created is Cena de Traje. Cena de Traje is an opportunity for DACA recipients to get together, share a meal, and dialogue about different things, whether it is mental health. The most recent one, I did a training on the basics of finances. And again, depending on the interest, either I do the trainings or we bring somebody else to do the trainings. And with that, our organization is Líderes del Futuro. My name is Rafael Vázquez Guzmán. I am the CEO and president of this organization. Our website is lideresdelfuturo.org. You can also find the QR code there, and we'll update our website soon in order to provide more information. And you can also connect from our website to our YouTube channel, Líderes del Futuro. Also, our focus is on mental health a lot. So on Instagram and TikTok, we also have a page that is available on Facebook, DACA Sonoma County. And again, on Instagram and TikTok is Líderes del Futuro. And every day I put a message out there about promoting mental health. And should you have any follow-up questions, you can email us at líderesdelfuturo@yahoo.com. Thank you for your time.